We all heard the term white savior, right? Well, if you would like to see this term taking the form of a TV show, then Lioness is the series for you. Now, this might sound harsh. After all, most of us are Taylor Sheridan fans who are truly appreciating his talent and efforts. But I can't help but feel disappointed with his very much hyped new series, especially knowing the fact that he basically neglected Yellowstone for the sake of creating shows like this. As you can see, making this review is a tough job for me, as I'm about to be quite critical of my favorite script writer. And yet, here we are. Lioness released its first 2 episodes at once, as this seems to be the ongoing trend on streaming platforms recently. Titled Sacrificial Soldiers and The Beating, respectively, both episodes were around the 40 to 45 minutes mark and premiere on Paramount+, which is the go-to platform for any Sheridan content. In terms of the production value, I cannot find any flaws in the series. It's clear that millions have been invested in the project, and the producers have done their best in capturing the military vibe in every aspect of the show. For instance, the first scene that takes place in Syria was on point in achieving what an average viewer would expect to see when a scene is set in such a country. There was the quintessential yellow filter on the camera and lots of dust, as is required for any Hollywood production that takes place in the Middle East. To be honest, even though these are cliché production tactics that many of us are tired of seeing at this point, I don't mind them as long as the story and the characters are making the project worth watching. In fact, I believe cliché has become a cliché for a reason, delivering people what they want to see in the end. That being said, I don't think Lioness was successful in balancing out that cliché cinematography with a creative scenario or well-fleshed-out characters. The show takes its inspiration from the CIA's Lioness program. And I'll be honest, I have no idea about this program and whether they truly operate as they were shown in this series or not. But according to the series, there are a bunch of women soldiers who are tasked with forming relations with the daughters or wives of high-level terrorists so that they can get information about their operations. The first episode started with one of the Lioness women being killed by the team itself as she was compromised due to a cross tattoo, revealing that she was actually a Christian. So basically, American women soldiers are pretending to be Muslim women by wearing hijab and then entrapping the terrorists. Now, based on this premise alone, I can go on for hours about the potentially underlying Orientalism, Islamophobia, American exceptionalism, and even sexism. But we are here for the entertainment aspect of things alone. Nevertheless, it's clear that this is a pretty political show, which makes it stand out among other Sheridan projects. Yellowstone is often criticized for its so-called sneaky political agenda that allegedly supports conservative values. However, so far the show has never made a clear stance on its politics, and Sheridan has always denied that he has any underlying political agenda in the series. I personally don't have many issues with Yellowstone or its alleged political agenda, as I believe the show is mostly character-driven rather than being a mouthpiece for its creators' views. In the case of Lioness, however, the political agenda is pretty out there, with massive praise on the US military, which is depicted as a savior that not only takes care of all the political masses across the globe, but also saves the US citizens from their problematic lives by providing them a second chance in life. Another political agenda that the show cherishes is feminism, but not the type that's inclusive and celebratory of all women and their choices. Instead, pretentious feminism appreciates womanhood as long as it is overly masculinized. In a way, we can call the show a new G.I. Jane. I heard a reviewer calling it Mission Impossible, but with a woman lead. Personally, I feel like the show needs to achieve load more before being worthy of comparison to a masterpiece like Mission Impossible. But what do I know? For the most part, though, the show has all the necessary features of a typical Sheridan show. In fact, even the characters in the series fit perfectly into Sheridan's Yellowstone formula. For instance, Zoe Saldana's character, Jo, is basically the female version of John Dutton, who is tough, unbearable, but often right with an essentially good heart. Laisla de Oliveira's character, Cruz, is the Lioness version of Yellowstone's Jimmy. She has a messy past, but now she has new dreams, and to achieve those dreams, she has to put up with lots of shit. We even have a bunkhouse-type settlement in which all the quirky characters of the CIA live together and act nonsensical. They all talk at the same time and drink beers constantly while cursing simultaneously. The character of Bobby seems like Teeter's Lioness version, as they embrace the gender-neutral look as well as the bad mouth and over-the-top inclination to violence. I'm afraid Sheridan realized what made Yellowstone a massive hit and now will try to copy the same formula to every new show of his. I feel like the strongest suit of the show so far is the acting, as everyone does a great job in their respective parts. I especially like Zoe Saldana's performance, as I feel like she is an underappreciated actress. However, I have to admit that I'm a bit disappointed by Nicole Kidman's participation in the series. To be frank, I don't see how she contributed to the show in any way. Of course, it's always a delight to see her face on screen, but I feel like her performance was quite bland, as if she wasn't happy to be there. Any other actress could deliver a similar performance in my opinion, which makes me think that Sheridan has missed an opportunity in using Kidman's talents to the fullest. Also, where the hell is Morgan Freeman? He was missing in the first 2 episodes as well as the press tour, reportedly due to an infection. I was hoping to see him as he is a strong enough actor to save the series. Hopefully, he would make his entrance in episode 3. God knows the show needs him. Overall, I give the show the credit for not being boring as the action was on point for the most part. However, Sheridan continued to create some very convenient scenarios for his characters, which was something that bugged me very much in 1883. For instance, Cruz becomes friends with the terrorist's daughter Aaliyah in like 2 seconds. They don't meet in 2 seconds. They basically become besties, as she immediately invites Cruz to join her in hanging out. I can't underline how unrealistic this is, especially for a daughter of essentially a mafia boss, who is likely to be raised to be as careful as possible when it comes to her interactions with strangers. Also, when we reach the 2nd episode, the 2 girls' dialogue quickly takes a very intimate form, which doesn't make any sense since we saw them talking only once for like a minute or so. When did the 2 become so close? Anyways, as you can see, I can complain about the series for hours as my memories of the first 2 episodes are quite fresh right now. But I choose peace for once and want to give the show another chance. That's to say, I'll continue the series in the upcoming weeks and see whether it will improve or not. It won't be yet another Yellowstone, that's clear. Nevertheless, it can still prove to be more than what it seems to be so far. What are your thoughts on Lioness? Did you like the series? Do you think it has the potential to replace Yellowstone? Let me know what you think in the comments below and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you for watching. See you soon.